Good morning. It's 7 a.m. The moon is out. I'm still waiting for the sunrise. Hasn't come up yet. This is the second video where I'm going to talk about stuff that doesn't get talked about, as opposed to the wrong things that do get talked about. Yesterday I did the nationalist China has a treaty with the United States that if communist China attacks them, the U.S. will defend them. And that came from a time when nationalist China, which used to be the whole huge China, was defeated by the communist insurrection. The nationalist Chinese people went to the island of Taiwan, and at that time the water, I think it's 25 miles, kept the armies of the communist Chinese from invading. And there was a treaty before that with the U.S. that they would defend them against communism, which meant at the time, I think, Russia. So that's why the U.S. is over there. They have a treaty. They're obligated to be there, and they're spinning it into we're good guys and we're fighting the good fight against communism. Second one is Ukraine used to be a satellite nation of the Soviet Union. And when the Soviet Union fell, there were Russian nuclear missile installations in the satellite countries. And the U.S. said to Ukraine, give us your nuclear missiles, which are pointed at us, and we'll defend you if Russia invades. So that was done. So the U.S. by treaty is obligated to defend Ukraine against Russia, which is what they are doing. And spinning it into Russia is bad, bad, bad. That's never mentioned, those two treaties. And the third thing is somebody was shelling civilians in the Donbass. I'm not 100% certain about it, but in the southeast of Ukraine, very close to Russia, there's an area where the people actually speak Russian, and I think they were part of the Soviet Union. Somebody has been shelling them, I think, for 7 years. And they say it's a genocide. That's not talked about. And two sides to Russia coming in there is Vladimir Putin did say, I'm doing a special operation, military, to go in there and protect Russians. And that makes sense in an ethical sense. If there's a genocide going on against your tribe using howitzers, it's the ethical thing to do to stop that. And the other side of that is Russia needs a warm water port to sell their wheat and oil, and there is a warm water port there. The West has been trying to stop Russia from becoming a big player on the worldwide stage with their oil and gas and wheat and cotton and who knows what else is on that huge hinterland of gold and nickel and cadmium and water and forests and supermodels from the Siberian region. The suppression of Russia has been going on approximately 500 years, so they're not fans of the West. And this is the scale of things that go on planet Earth that the public is not made aware of. So, if the U.S. keeps pushing this, um, Russia has their latest nuclear submarines cozied up against the Atlantic coast, and they can send a missile there in maybe 7 minutes. And if you remember, World War II was stopped by the United States dropping 2 atomic bombs and destroying 2 cities and saying, we can do this all day long. And at the same time, the Russians attacked from the north. And historically and apparently, that's the real reason the Japanese surrendered. It wasn't because of the bombing. It was gone. Now the Russians are coming from the north. We can't take on the Americans and the Russians, so the emperor surrendered. So in 50 years later, actually 70 years later, if Russia was to nuke one American city, they can legitimately say, we can do this all day long, because they have lots of submarines, lots of missiles, and some of the missiles have 25 nuclear warheads on them, which could be programmed to go to different places. So, America has a different ethical morality than more ancient cultures, which are rooted in barbarism and masculine strength. The West is based on the new ideas brought by Yeshua of Nazareth, and how important that is. That's the reason we have BC, before Christ, and AD, which is the year of our Lord, changing a third, or at least a third of the world, maybe half, most of Europe was conquered by the Vatican using an army, the same way that when the Muslims come, they convertible chop your head off. The Scandinavian countries, England, Canada, the United States, a lot of South America and Australia are Christian-ish. And the Russians and countries like Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia have the European masculine mindset, which I just got hit with a particle beam weapon. They think the West are big babies. And they're not going to be holding back if they decide to go to war. And the United Nations, the court in The Hague, the Nuremberg trials, these are all Western ideas. You guys have been unethical, and we're going to take you to court and punish you. That was never done before. Just war was war, winner, loser, that's it. And Peter Ouspensky has a book called In Search of the Miraculous, and his teacher was George Gurdjieff. And Ouspensky asked Gurdjieff once, can war be stopped? And he had always said no, it cannot be stopped. This time he said yes. And wars are caused by planetary influences. Some planet comes too close to another, and it's like when you pass somebody in the sidewalk, you get a little nervous. In the case of a human, that lasts for 3 or 4 seconds, but in the case of a planet, it can last 50 years or 150 years. And 50 years ago, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, where Russia was going to put missiles on Cuba and be able to attack the United States in just minutes, and that was stopped under threat of World War III by President Kennedy, and 50 years later, the same event. It was the closest approach of Jupiter then and now. And we have the reverse situation where we have the Americans wanting to put nuclear missiles right on the border of Russia where they could get to Moscow in 3 minutes. So, of course, the Russian president is saying, you're not going to do that. So if it's good enough for Kennedy, it's good enough for Putin. And America is a 250-year-old country. China, Russia, all the Arabic countries are 5, 10, 20,000 years old, and they have a vast backup of history and a history of fighting with each other for thousands of years. So they have a different mindset about this and each other. And the only thing that would allow America to issue orders was they had the atomic bomb, which they used to as the big club. And now Russia has actually more than America, and that game has changed. So this is, we don't know what's going on. All we have is videos on YouTube saying this is what's going on, and it's caused by planetary influences, and it will recede on planetary influences. It's just a matter of, will it be set on fire by an incident? Also, everyone knows atomic war is a bad idea because of the mutations of the children and destruction of property, and you can't use the land for 2,500 years, etc., etc., etc. But artificial intelligence will camera just warned me that it's about to shut off. I hope it keeps going. Artificial intelligence will bring things that we are absolutely unable to conceive of until we see them. And this is like when steamships came, the people who owned the canvas-powered ships were very upset by that. When Simpson Sears came, all these small businesses who had clothing stores and millinery stores were put out of business, and that was changed the life for them. When cable TV came, the broadcasters were driven out of business by that, and the things that will happen, new inventions are going to change the world in a startling way. And AI is already doing paintings, doing art, writing stories, answering your questions on the internet. I've played chess with a computer once, and it is frightening to have your humanity up against that electronic thing and realize it is, in some sense, like another being. We could have a better future with this. It was able to solve all the problems in a startlingly new way. But we still have the dramatizing suppressive psychotics who are suffering from mental implants from the last galactic war. And that's who they are, and they don't know that. The people in the esoteric schools know that. And that's the battle that's been going on here for a long time. We have 20% normal-ish beings and 80% what are called degraded beings. And the designers of this place figured that the 20% will never be able to organize the other 80% because we all have to leave together if we want to get out of here and end this this kind of game. The game that we're within is the universe in size and has millions of players, and talked to a referee, and he said if people must like this because otherwise it would have ended the game a long time ago. So I don't think it's going to stop by itself. So the goal is the playing of a better game. This has been going on for 105 to the 33rd power, which is 105 with 33 zeros behind it, which is a long time.